Well, hello guys. Merry Christmas.
Ching ching.
Ching ching. So, obviously, as you've probably seen, Brucey, who was meant to be our guest this evening, had went home and got delayed. We've obviously been near Christmas and things like that. So don't worry, guys. He will be here in the new year. Talking all things shop. So it is a really exciting guest. So all we're going to do is we're going to tell some stories. We're going to see how it comes out and then decide whether to post it or not. So obviously, I'm back with my dear friend, Mr. Johnny KB. And we'll just chat shop, and chew the fat, and see where it gets you. So, how's Christmas? Well, after December been for you, mate?
Well, it's been quite busy actually. Always the run up in December, up till Christmas is busy, especially in this industry.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
we've had some proper laughs. Some of them we've shared with you, but there's also been some down times as well, like all of us. But over the years, we've had some funny stories, haven't we? I mean, I know we told a couple on the first podcast, but we'll try and tell some more. So, first of all, what's your most embarrassing story? Let's see if you got one of them.
I wouldn't say it was embarrassing. I think it was more disgusting than anything. Working at the time, it was Yates's in Portsmouth in Guildhall Square. We got called up. They had a toilet attendant in there, and we got called up there because there was a male intoxicated. So we went up there and removed him, and he was caked from head to toe in shit.
Oh,
and it was everywhere.
Code Brown.
It was definitely a Code Brown.
Oh,
It was like a biohazard.
Yeah.
It was disgusting.
No.
And he was putting his hands all over the place. It
Oh.
was horrendous.
Yeah, that is bad. I mean, it reminds me of my most. It's not my finest moment. I was out in a couple of years ago in Saudi Arabia, and the job hadn't gone as I wanted it to. A lot of it was my own fault. A lot of it was giving the wrong information. So it was a mix. And looking at one of the part of the job that I was doing is looking after some guys with another guy that follows this actually, and they were locals, but I needed to get some water because they're all thirsty. So I went outside to get some bottled water, and let's just say never trust a fart.
What, it came out in a lump? Did it?
And I didn't really notice until I heard people talking behind me, and then I kind of realised what happened.
You weren't wearing white trousers, were you?
Thankfully not, no, but yeah, it wasn't. And that kind of set the rest of the task up in that one. So I think, if any doorman or anyone in any industry tells you they haven't got an embarrassing story, they're lying.
Yeah.
Everyone makes mistakes. The only people I'll say are probably different for that are your elite special forces, UKSF, SAS, SBS. That calibre probably never make any mistakes.
No.
Very, 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 very little. But other than that, outside that fine niche group, there's no one make a mistake today.
No, it's part of how it is, isn't it? At the end of the day, everyone makes mistakes.
Well, obviously we've been reminiscing about our Regency days, how we met, and God, I think I made loads of mistakes in Regency, and when I left at the time I was quite upset, but looking back on it, it's probably what sort of set me on the path I went on now, and so much stuff I learned about, not just so much operational stuff, but management and people management and what to do and what not to do. So you just got to learn from it.
Yeah, you have, and it's like you say. There's always jobs that you're going to be good at, and there's jobs that you're going to be bad at. You just have to take the rough with the smooth.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah. Well, this year's been a good year for us, I think, overall.
Yeah, it has. Like we talked about in our podcast, we've done the first one, that, we've done a lot.
Yeah.
You know, we've done Lenham Palace and
Yeah, that's why.
events.
That's why I enjoy the job I do. Like any job, it has some ups, it has some downs. But what gets me out of bed in the morning and what keeps me motivated is the variety. Can't speak. The variety of
That's
jobs
it.
and people, places, and no job's different.
No, exactly. You know, and this is a good thing. You know, it's always good to broaden your horizons and go and experience different things. Go and do other lines of security.
Yeah.
And see how things are done.
Yeah, definitely.
Instead of being stuck in a rut and doing the same thing day in, day out, you know, do what we've done. You know, I've done response at Premier League football clubs, looked after players, the lot, and events.
But the thing is, as well, we haven't just like a lot of people see the likes of me and you, and not many, but a few people that get jealous and stuff like that. But what they don't realise is all the shit jobs that we've done. So, like I alluded to in my previous one of my first event companies that I worked with was Specialised through Bruce, who's our next guest. And when I first got there, you know, I was guarding marquees overnight and things like that. You know, and then, you know, I was put as a team leader at Download 2021. So we've done the rough and the smooth.
Yeah.
You know, we've been in the back arse end of the car park in the pissing rain.
Yeah, getting soaked for 12 hours.
But we don't, well, I think the difference between you and I and a lot of the good operators out there, they don't complain about it.
No.
They might have a bitch and moan amongst yourselves, which is absolutely fine. Well, this is fucking grim, isn't it? But we don't refuse to do them jobs.
Yeah,
We get on and do it.
Get on and do it, and you don't have to go back and do it again if you don't want to.
No, exactly that.
So, you know, this is it. Like I'm saying, it's good to experience and do these different things.
Yeah, and then what I found this year is it was one job I'd done at the start of the year, and that just then snowballed into bigger and better jobs, and I don't think we've stopped working, have we? Even now, when normally the event side of things slow down and stuff like that, you rang me up about this job in Bognor, so we physically haven't stopped.
No, exactly. And we're on the doors as well on a Friday and Saturday night, and you know we're now coming up to the busy part of the month.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're going to get Christmas out of the way, then we roll straight onto New Year.
Yeah.
So we'll have New Year's Eve.
But I like working with you on the doors, so you don't flap.
Nice.
Last night, wasn't it? We had the boxing's on. Everyone thinks they're Tyson Fury, and all of a sudden it just erupted. Now a lot of people start panicking, and you know, the other lad that we work with, Mason, and I just dealt with it, and it was done, wasn't it? You know?
Well, this is it. You know, this is why it's good to put in people into a venue that you trust.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you know how each other work, and you get on with the job.
Yeah.
All right. Ideally, you could have been a 5-man door team last night minimum, but we done it as a 4-man door team, and we all know how each other work.
Yeah,
and that's why we get on with the job. Don't moan about it, and just get our heads down and do it.
And we get left alone.
We get through it. Yeah.
We get left alone by the GM. So I think we're doing something right.
Well, yeah, exactly. This is it. You know, like we've said before, when we've had these podcasts, you never please a GM at all. Never. It doesn't matter what you do. You can come in doing handstands. They criticise what you're doing. You know, that you're doing a handstand wrong.
Yeah.
But
Unfortunately, I mean, this is the argument I have. Security have no R of I. Not quantifiable anyway. You know, so a lot of GMs, especially the ones who are on bonuses, don't like us. Well, not us personally, but don't like security. So
I think a lot of it's because I don't want to spend any money because it comes out of their bonuses.
yeah. So you've really got to go in there, and you know, a lot of venues I've worked in, and you probably the same. And there's a this and them atmosphere. You know, security and staff, and it's just uncomfortable. If you can feel part of the team and they can feel part of your team, then I think that's when things go well.
Yeah, it does. It's like, coming off the subject a bit, I was thinking about, in all the years I've been doing door work, about all the venues I've worked in and trying to think. And it's like I was talking to Dean Hayden the other week about it, and we're looking at the weather map on his TV and thinking to ourselves, we've done there, done there, done here, and going over the whole weather map. It's unbelievable. It's like just the south coast alone. I've done from Hastings right down to Weymouth. I've done that whole south coast stretch. You know, that's not including doing central London.
We put some miles in.
You know, all mid Sussex, everywhere.
It is quite. I know what you mean. I'll be talking to someone. They go, "Oh, I'm from here," or "I'm visiting now." And they go, "Oh, I've done such and such festival there, or such and such event there." And you know, you sort of think about. I've got this thing on Google, and it's tracked where I've been. And you can go back 3 years, and it's just mad. Like the amount of miles I put in to this country, like just going up, down, left, right. You know, Midlands, Leeds, Manchester, Scotland.
This is it. You know, you should have. If there was air miles for trains, I think you'd.
I don't think I'll ever pay for a train again.
No, definitely not.
No comments of people that know me. I will leave that one there.
How did you get down from Scotland to get into here?
I'm pleading the fifth on that one.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the only guy I know who will get away with it. If it was me, I would have so many fines on my way down.
I don't know what he's talking about.
I think you do.
Maybe this is the.
Let's just hope Network Rail aren't listening to this.
Maybe this is a criminal investigation I'm under, according to a bloke from the south coast. Can't name for legal reasons, but I think we all know who we're talking about. Anyway, moving on from that one. But yeah, I do enjoy travelling around, and hopefully you're gonna come on the circuit a bit next year and travel about.
This is what I want to do. You know, there's so many festivals I haven't experienced. You know, I've done a few. But I would like to go and do a few more.
Yeah, it is good fun, and yeah, I do prefer it to doors. I do doors for a bit of pocket money. But like I say, events is my bread and butter. And even though I've been lucky enough to actually do a bit of CP work this year, like proper CP work, so that's been quite good experience. But you know, events is where I shine, and doors is where you shine. But you're good at events as well, so
yeah, you know, I think we're all rounders really.
Yeah.
You know, I can go into any venue and just go in there like I've been in there. Like for 6 months.
Well, like we said, you know, we both have life experience outside security, and we've sort of taken that on board. So, you know, the reason why I got to the leadership roles quite quick within the industry, I'm not a better doorman than a lot of people or anything like that, but I remember one of my first proper jobs was for Virgin Media in Bournemouth, and I had a manager there called Sonia, and her man management skills and her team leadership skills were second to none. And a lot of stuff that she's taught me, or a lot of stuff that I sort of watched her do, I carry to this day. And so I was quite lucky to have that grab. It reminds me, I read, I can't remember if it was the first or second, but Sir Alex Ferguson's autobiography, who, you know, without getting into the nitty gritty, he is one of the greatest managers the world has ever seen, probably in any sporting discipline. And he is famed for the hairdryer treatment, you know. But what people don't actually realise, that was just one tactic he would use. He wouldn't use it on every player.
No.
You know, he would only use it on the players that he'll work on. So, for the example that he gave, you know, you got a player like Wayne Rooney who's fired up, who's very out there, so he would give someone like Wayne Rooney the hairdryer treatment. But someone like Paul Scholes or Eric Cantona, they're more of need a sort of, probably Cristiano Ronaldo in that one, more needed a father figure with an arm around the shoulder. So he would tailor his management style depending on who and what the person was going through or who they are. And I think that's what we do as area managers. You know, when we're having a conversation with each doorman or head doorman, they're a different person. And what makes that person tick is different to what makes that person tick.
Yeah.
And I think it's understanding that to get the best out of them.
And the thing is, you need, you know, and also you need to put teams into venues that are going to gel and get on and watch each other's backs.
Yeah.
And at the moment, you know, not just because it's Christmas period, it's been like this for a long, long time. Ever since COVID, it's very punchy at the moment, very aggressive. People don't give a shit about what they're doing.
I don't know about you, and I don't know about you guys out there, but you used to be able to sort of tell if someone's going to go off. You look at body language, and to some degree you still can, but I think there's been more incidents where it's just gone off out of nowhere. Yeah. So like last night, like everyone's watching the boxing. All right, I know testosterone levels are high, it was hot inside, etc. But it just went off. There was no argy-bargy or anything like that. It just erupted.
Yeah, but the trouble is, it's
over a chair.
It's stupid things. Yeah. It's like I've worked venues, and you've had a mass brawl over someone putting a glass on someone's table.
Yeah.
Do you know what? The mentality is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And like last night, like you were just saying, that was over someone wanting to borrow a chair. You know, if that's what they've got to worry about in their life,
they're doing all right. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're doing all right. But you do get some bizarre people. Some bizarre. You hear some bizarre stories as well. I'll tell you what. Well, I actually wanted to. This isn't my story. I wanted to get this guy on the podcast, but it's not his thing. But he's an ex-bootneck. But anyway, he was on a CP job in London, and one of his relatives was staying in St Tommy's, right? We all know where St Tommy's is, Westminster Bridge. And so he pops in, and it was an elderly relative, and said, you're not going to believe this. Right? All the doctors and nurses came in wearing ancient Greek or Roman outfits, and they all started having an orgy. Right? Anyway, this guy thinks, obviously, because he's all medded up and stuff, so it must be like the morphine and stuff like that, and he's hallucinating or dreaming. So I didn't think anything of it. About 2 or 3 years later, he picks up the paper, turns the page, and there's an article about...
Can I just interrupt? How come it took 2 or 3 years later? Was he in a coma?
But this article came out about a load of doctors and nurses got sacked from Tommy's for recording a porno in the ward. So this guy was right all along.
So he wasn't going.
He wasn't going
mental.
Some.
He probably thought he was having a nightmare, I think, more than a dream. I don't know. God.
What other stories have you got, Johnny?
Do you know what?
It's hard to pinpoint because we don't script this.
No.
So we just wing it. So we want the conversation to be.
So it's
raw.
flowing.
Yeah. I don't think we told the. I can't mention his name actually. I nearly dropped his name there. You remember RoboCop from Regency? We broke the fire exit. Right. So there's this guy that used to basically chew Johnny's ear off about a load of nothing, really, wasn't
it? Well, yeah.
So he's in the office and he needed to speak to this guy, but he knows he's going to be on the phone for an hour. So I go, I'll take the call. I just say you're not here, right?
like every phone call.
So I answer the call, and oh my God, he's going. And we had loads of stuff to do as well. He's going on and on and on about I can't even remember what, mate. And I put it on mute. I just start laughing. I don't know why. Anyway, I start laughing so much. I pass out. I fall on some boxes. This guy and another guy called Lee comes over and goes, Josh, you're right. Eventually I come round about a couple of minutes later, and the guy is still on the phone talking after around 2 or 3 minutes. Oh, dear.
And then the seagull talker and
Oh, yeah, he decides to make friends with the seagulls. Oh, did you ever hear the story that, from Chris? The old, well, he's still there actually, the head door at Walkabout. Oh, so Chris's scooter, he had a moped, and it was breaking. It started to break down. So I said to him he could park it at mine in Christchurch, and then he could get the bus or whatever. I can't remember what he'd done, but he parked it at Christchurch, and then needed to get it back at the end of the night. So so he got a lift down, and I had an electric scooter, you know, the plug-in ones. So I said to Chris, I'll make a start now, because obviously it's going to take me a bit longer, and I'll meet you there. So I sent him my live location on WhatsApp so he could see how far I was getting. Anyway, I'm on the phone. Don't try this at home. I'm on the phone to him. So I'm on the electric scooter like this on the phone, one-handed. And then, bearing in mind, it's about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. So obviously there's no traffic. I get to Iford Roundabout in Christchurch, which is a small little town in the south of England. And then there's a fucking car coming in there. So I'm like, I can't brake.
To drop your phone.
I can't do it, what to do. So I kind of swerve it, and then I'll go, fuck, shit down the phone. And then I crash. And then Chris is on the other hand going, what? Looks at my WhatsApp, I'll stop moving, and all of a sudden he just goes, I'm alright. And then Chris and another lad called Bailey, they're just wetting themselves down the phone. Oh dear, well, I shouldn't, don't cycle or do a scooter one-handed. That's a lesson from that one.
Oh God. No, I have got some funny other stories that aren't door related, but
oh, go on, it's Christmas after all.
Well, years and years ago, I used to live in a place called Burwash. It was out in the middle of nowhere, and my dad had the house up for sale. Anyway, my brother and his wife came to live with us for a year whilst he was having his house done. So I had a hire car from, I don't know if it was Enterprise or whatever, and we went up the pub, like up the road. You go up like the lane, like up to a place called Brightling, and we were in the pub drinking. And we thought, shit, we've got to drive the fucking car back. I don't know how much we had, but we were wrecked. I don't agree with doing this. This was years and years ago, not recent.
We're changed people.
Yeah, we're reformed characters sitting there drinking.
Merry Christmas, one of them.
Yeah. Captain Morgan. Anyway, we drove back, or I drove back, and I was going down the country lane, doing about 40 or 50, and he decided to pull the fucking handbrake up on the car, and I went up the bank. This was a brand new hire car, and it ended up going back ruined.
Don't know what happened, got stolen. Oh dear, that's...
And then I ditched it in the street as well, the same car, because the Badger came out in front of me with an iPod on, and I broke, and the car went sideways in the wet, and I went in the fucking street. I don't know how I didn't have to pay any damages towards the car. I got it all cleaned up.
It's a good job you got the insurance on it.
Well, I was lucky.
Oh, I remember talking of the cars when we used to have them Zoom calls. So when we were at Regency, we used to have Zoom calls, right? With and it's basically like to say how, because obviously a lot of people work remotely, so it was just an update. All the area managers would talk and find out what's going on, trends, etc., etc. So we thought, me, you, and Lee, we had time to go to McDonald's in Southampton, West King. And then, I order on the app, Lee drives the car, parks up. I then get a phone call, how long are you going to be? I said, well, I'm just picking it up now. I said, why? Like, the Zoom call in 5 minutes. So I'm running through West Key with the McDonald's. I get into the car, literally as they're calling. And then everyone's in the office up in Norwich. Full suits, blazers, the lot. And then I was in the back of a car with McDonald's.
Oh dear.
Oh, I do, mate. I actually, you know what? I do miss them days.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I do. I used to love it. Going in on a Monday, we used to have a right laugh.
We did. Me. Well, we're trying to get Ryan, if you're watching this, and Lee on the podcast. Come on. Dean's already agreed, so.
Yeah, why not?
And Mr. Powers, if you want to come on as well, you're more than welcome.
Yeah,
More than
not?
yeah.
More the merrier.
But no, it was. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was some stressful times, wasn't there? You know, on a Friday night and a Saturday night, and the phone starts going, and you think, oh no, here we go.
I said this before, but it was like from 5 o'clock till 7 o'clock, you had those 2 hours where people were bailing out of their shifts, and you had a gap here, there, and everywhere. I think at one stage in Bournemouth, I think I had about 20 gaps.
It was just a big game of chess, wasn't
And you can't fill
it?
all the venues.
No.
Unfortunately, and you do have to let some run short.
Yeah.
But trying to please some of the AMs from the big pub companies is quite challenging in itself.
See, I was quite lucky because one of my I got a lot of stick for actually prioritising it, but one of my favourite venues, which I still go to now for bottomless brunch, is Slug, Richmond Hill. Bournemouth, and the reason why was because first of all it was the first venue I was made head door of, but the second reason is when I did work there, I know they've had a lot of changeover of staff, but there's still a couple there. It was the venue that looked after me the most. They made me feel part of the team, they made me feel welcome, they backed every decision I made 120%, they never questioned it. They were never pushing to, and I remember just after COVID, we worked well together because they didn't want any shit in the venue. And they weren't, it wasn't all about the bottom line of money. Obviously to some degree that is the case because a business has to make money to survive, but, like a lot of other venues, they just want anyone in.
Yeah.
So that is, and even to this day, I go back there now, and I get looked after really well. So
yeah, it's good.
But we will have our favourite venues.
Yeah, I do. I've got a few. One of them was when I was HD at Revolutions in Brighton. All the management staff there. The hospitality that you got food and drinks and everything, and you got treated properly.
Yeah.
When Pop World was it still is in Brighton, but when it was halfway up West Street.
Yeah.
I was HD there for quite a long time, and we used to have a laugh.
I'll tell you the venue
I
did used to like as well, and a lot of people did, was the George Taps.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know what it was, I did like that venue, but I remember there was a GM there, I don't know if you remember him, his name was Dan.
It might have been a bit before my
So
time.
I think Dan, I might be wrong here, but I think Dan was Polish, I believe, not that has any relevance. But he was a bit of a hard taskmaster. But he was fair, firm and fair. And he gave me a lot of stick when I was an area manager, but a lot of it was deserved. But I remember once, it was a Saturday night, and I just had pull out.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of blue lights, and it was just such a... And he was having problems as well, so he rang me.
It's one of those shit shows.
Yeah, it was literally, it was firefighting from 5 o'clock to anyway. So I had my head door there, Jay, and he was really good, to be fair. He knew the pressure I was under, so sort of left me alone, and then I got there when I could. And Dan I remember there's like a little, if anyone knows Bournemouth, which probably a few of you do, there's like a little VIP area. So I went in there, and Dan said, come in here. And he said, look, you look really stressed. Like, do you want something to eat? Do you want a drink? Just took the time to check up if I was okay, and stuff like that. And the GM of the Slug and Lettuce, Richmond Hill, done that as well a couple of times. So, that for me went a long way.
Yeah.
You know, just they didn't need to do that. At the end of the day, I'm just a client of theirs. You know, I'm just someone that they need on the weekend. You know, I'm not part of their business.
Yeah.
But you know, things like, I know we have a laugh about GMs and sometimes we talk negatively, but there are some really good ones.
Oh, there are. I've met quite a few. You know, like I said, Revolution's managers. You know, I've met quite a few of them. They're all brilliant. You know, a lot of the Pop World managers, they're all brilliant. You know.
Well, I've never really got to work with Phil because we sort of crossed paths, but he's a really good guy as well.
Yeah.
But you worked with him at Portsmouth, I believe, at Portsmouth?
Oh.
Or was that with him?
No, it's more when I was an AM, because he was Southampton.
Yeah, that was it, Southampton. Oh yeah, because I set up a meeting that someone got went out of. But yeah, but no, there are some out there. I don't see with you. I think you're the same. I don't mind GMs giving us a hard time if it's justified.
Well, exactly. This is it. You know, I think they know about the pressure you're under at the end of the day. And the thing is about it, everyone's trying to achieve the same thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is difficult.
Well, I remember when there was a guy in Eastleigh. I think his name was Andy, but I can't.
No, you're right. You're right.
And there's a pub there called The Station. And given that
memorable venue, that
so I never really been to Eastleigh. I think maybe once or twice. I didn't really know the area or the demographic, and I thought it was just a sleepy little commuter town. Right? that was my impressions of Eastleigh. So the station, I don't know if we had the station or it came up or what, but I don't know how. Whether we always had it.
No. We've all always had that venue. So it used to be called years ago. It was the Lytton Tree.
I thought that was the George Tatter's Lytton Tree.
No, Eastleigh is the Lytton Tree.
Is the station a Stonegate as well?
Yeah.
It's
a Stonegate venue.
Yeah. So we went in and we'd been told that it was your area, but we worked together, didn't we? We basically joined the areas up, and we were told this GM's a pain in the arse, he's needy, blah 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 blah. So we went in and sat down with him, and we basically gave him some home truths about the state of the industry, about you know there are going to be times when we're going to. But we were honest. We had an honest, open conversation, and he responded to that. And I don't think we really had any bother off him after that, did we?
No, but that venue was one where I had to change the whole door team around.
It was a tinderbox, wasn't it?
Yeah,
really.
It was a venue that was punchy.
I mean, we worked there, and the whole bar got smashed.
Yeah, it did. Yeah,
you know,
it erupted. But you know, I'm not being funny. It's one of those places or one of those towns where you've got all these bollock boys who come in.
Yeah, I love the word boy. I learned that off him. I love the word bollock boys.
They're all bollock boys wearing their winkle picker shoes and and their sisters' trousers.
Yeah.
Who are on cheap, like poor man's coke.
Yeah.
And they think they can take on everyone.
Yeah.
And they think they're running the show until you have to put them straight and tell them that you're running the show.
Yeah, with their Swiss roll eyes on and their Uchi clothes and from Turkey.
Yeah, that's it.
But yeah, well, I think we worked there a couple of weeks, and once we cleared it up a bit, it kind of settled down a bit.
But it wasn't a bad venue.
The trouble is, it's one of them venues where you have 6 or 7 weeks of nothing. And then it will but when it goes, because it's one of them. Everyone knows everyone, and at some point, someone slept with someone's fucking missus, or someone's cheated on someone, or someone hasn't paid their bloody maintenance money. There's always local drama going on, and then that's when it.
It's like a live episode of Corrie. you know, it is like a live episode of EastEnders or Corrie. It is. You know, they're all related somewhere along the line, like your sister's uncle's nephew. And they're all
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's the trouble. But there's a lot of towns and that.
Well, I actually quite enjoyed that. To be fair.
It
There was
wasn't
always
too
something
bad,
going on.
yeah.
It was certainly wasn't a boring shift.
You know, don't get me wrong. I've met a lot of my friends and customers in a lot of these places.
Yeah.
And you know, you get to build a rapport with the regulars that come in
Yeah.
and have a laugh with them.
Yeah.
And you know, you get to know them, and then if anything happens, they back you up.
Yeah, exactly. Or they'll tell you things.
Yeah.
You know, oh, there's two lads in there that are arguing, or.
But this has happened in a lot of places. You know, it's always good to build a rapport.
Yeah.
And try and, like, I don't mean like gain their trust, but like engage with them.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I've had some right laughs with customers. To me, I always, I take the job seriously, but I don't take life seriously.
No.
You know, I know a lot of people's opinion of me is I'm just a clown and stuff like that. But if I'm doing the job and there's something seriously happening, I take it seriously. But I don't take life seriously because at the end of the day, it's too short. I like to have a fun and laugh, but there are times when you can't do that, obviously.
No, it's true.
But when you do have a laugh with the customer, one, it's a more enjoyable shift for yourself.
Yeah, it is.
And two, you get less aggro.
Yeah. You know, it's like I've said before that, and I always stick by this. You know, if you have a quiet night, it's turned out to be a good night.
Yeah.
You don't want to be writing instant reports at the end of the night after your shift. You don't want to be going down the police station after your shift doing statements.
No.
Because of blue light incidents that have occurred inside the venue.
Now, don't get me wrong. There are times when that happens.
It has happened.
and
We've had.
there's
we've had
nothing.
to do it.
And there's nothing you can do
No,
about
it's
it.
out of control.
But there's also times when it has happened, and you think that could have been prevented this way and that way. I mean, I made a major cock up, last year on an event. It was right at the end of the event. There was a guy being a bit of a knob to everybody basically, and I thought he needs to be ejected. Ejected him, and then it just erupted. And looking back on it, given the event was about to finish, should have just sort of let it slide and then go from that. But again, these are scenarios and situations that you learn from.
The thing is, this is where you have to, when you're trying to deal with an incident, you've got to make a split second decision, and you've got to make the right decision there and then. You've got to risk assess what the decision's going to end up like ending.
Well, the thing is, what that taught me was I remember that country show we done at Eastleigh that went really well. We had a problem with I don't know what's the politically correct term? Gypsies or travellers?
No, travellers.
Travelling
Community.
So the travelling community, right now, I don't have this thing about them that I don't, this thing about they're horrible people, anything like that. I've dealt with them a few times, and 99% of the times I've actually found them decent people and honourable people, right? Just like any community has bad people. But we had an incident from someone from that community, didn't we? And instead of going in all guns blazing, we dealt with it. All right, we might have dealt with it differently, but that's the knowledge that we built up. And we spoke to one of his mates, and he dealt with it. He had to go, so we could have gone in all guns blazing, turned into a massive brawl.
This is where people go wrong, and I've tried to explain this to GMs before in some of the venues. I've been in some venues when I've had to get 20 blokes out on my own. And I have to think 3 steps ahead all the time.
Exactly.
And I've always used reverse psychology. Right? I let them believe they're in the right and everyone else is in the wrong. And they start befriending you. Because you don't agree with what they're saying. You just like basically, if they're saying the manager's a fucking cock, you just say, the manager's a cock.
It's not that we believe it.
No, we don't.
And I know some people go, oh, you should stick your ground and stuff like that, but our job at the end of the day, our basic job, number one job, is safety. That's the customer safety, the staff safety, and then our own safety. So if we have to sit there and chat shit about the GM being a cunt or the head doorman being a cunt or whoever, then that's what we'll do. If that's the safest option, if that's what's going to keep the staff and customers safe, then we will do it.
Yeah, but it's like you get some, going back to removing these 20 blokes, right? They were causing problems, they were cracks.
Yeah.
But it took me half an hour, but I managed to get them all to leave without putting my hands on them.
What's better? It taken half an hour to get them to go relatively peacefully, or going all guns blazing
and having the place refurbished.
The whole place erupting, and then you know, harmless customers getting into crossfire. It's like, you know, one example was like yesterday. There was a bloke in the garden. He got caught doing the old Colombian style by one of the bar staff. So when I went to speak to him, said we need to have a chat outside. So what about? I said, well, you caught doing, you know, drugs, mate. He said, oh, fair enough. Can I finish my cigarette? I said, yeah, no problem. I said, I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. So I didn't hover over him. I stood in the corner, watched him. I went into the venue, I watched him leave. I didn't escort him out, you know, because he, you know, all right, done what he done. He owned up to it and he left. I didn't need to go and all guns blazing, grab him and kick him out.
No,
you know?
That's what I'm saying. You put your hands on people, last resort.
Yeah.
You've got to be 99% hands off.
Yeah.
You have until you have to.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's all about risk assessing the situation. Like, what fire exit are you going to remove someone from? Who's in the way?
Yeah.
And what's the safest option?
Yeah.
And if the safest option is to stand there for half an hour talking to them,
then that's what you've got to do.
and then that's what you've got to do.
I mean, ideally, in an ideal world, we want everyone to come through the front door, because then the door team at the front can see who they are, they don't get their back and stuff like that. But if they're going to kick up a fuss, then your safest option is staying to the nearest fire exit. So again, the customers don't get caught in crossfire for...
This is the thing, and you know, don't get me wrong, there have been times when I do have to go hands on, and I do have to put people on the floor.
Yeah, you have to be prepared for it.
I have to make sure that the area is safe enough, the surrounding areas around me is safe enough, and there's no obstructions.
Yeah.
And if I have to put someone down on the floor, that no one else is going to get hurt, including the person who you've got to restrain.
Yeah, and this is the thing. This is what a lot of people forget. If you're ejecting someone, or you're, you know, you're restraining them or detaining them because you need to wait for the police, or whatever, you still have a duty of care on that person. You know, so, you know, when I've done my level 5 in events, and you guys that have done it will know this, is we have something called Zone X. Is it Zone X? I can't, well, God, it's terrible, isn't it? I can't remember the terminology. I think it was called Zone X, but basically, it's not just the venue itself, it's the area surrounding the venue. If they're coming to and from your venue, you know, that is your duty of care still.
Yeah.
So if someone comes out of your venue and they are still in the vicinity of your venue, you, whether they're, you know, I mean, they've got to be reasonable if they're up the street, you know, then fair enough, but if they're still within the vicinity of your venue, you still have a duty of care over that people and persons.
Yeah, you know, I agree with you 100%, I do. And if you go back to how door work used to be, you know, it's changed a lot. The industry's changed a lot, and it is more customer focused than it used to be.
I remember I'd done a job. So when I first done my badge, I lived in South Shields, great part of the world in Newcastle. I'm not from there, but I lived there for a while for various reasons. I was in the merch. Anyway, that's the side story. And I moved back from South Shields to Bournemouth, or Christchurch, in 2019. So I was quite...
another bunk on the train, was it?
I don't know what you're on about. No, neither confirmed or... I'm pleading the fifth. I'm in America. So I just moved down, and I got a job with a company called M&X. Great company to work for. A guy called Steve owns them. And ironically, I'd done a job for them in Paul, and they were based in South Shields. And one day, he came down to see me. I don't know, which is a long drive. And you know, we're there chewing the fat, and he goes to me, again, this is something that stuck with me. He says, security is 90% customer service and and 10% security.
Yeah.
Even when you've got someone suspicious, your first approach is like we do in the shops when we think someone's going to shoplift. Can I help you, sir? You little madam, can you looking for anything? Yeah, your soft skills. That is because that in itself can deter someone.
Yeah,
You know?
no, it can.
So yeah, that customer service side of things is needed, but you also still need to be able to handle yourself when things go wrong.
You know, I can spot things a mile off.
Yeah.
I've got like a sixth sense where I can tell just by looking at someone that, you know, they're going to end up committing an offence.
Yeah.
Whether
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
shoplifting or what.
Yeah.
Okay, 99% of them I know around here, and I've built up a rapport with them.
That sounds silly, but it works.
Yeah, I've built up a rapport.
Yeah.
But, you know, I can go in any venue and you can sense if there's an atmosphere.
Yeah.
And it's just something that...
But then there's sensing the atmosphere, and then working out a plan to cool it.
Yeah.
Sometimes quite literally, where because it's hot inside. So you get if you got enough resources like we did last night at the Foundry, you get the fire exit open. You know, obviously have a doorman stand there so no one can come in. You know, to cool off, or you hold the door. You know, so you don't, even if you're not at capacity, you hold the doors, don't let anyone in, let people come out, and then start, you know, letting people in. So there are various things that you can do to try and bring down the temperature.
Yeah, this is it. And, you know, a lot of it's alcohol and drug related in the venue.
Yeah.
And like we discussed earlier on, a fight can erupt by someone putting a glass down on someone's table.
Yeah, you just don't know.
Or you brush past someone.
Which is probably the most common one, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
You can't... A lot of the stuff is unbelievable
Yeah.
that
So,
you come across.
changing the subject slightly, if someone's just done their course and they're fresh out or getting their badge, what advice would you give them?
I just think you've got to... You do all these courses through the SIA. It's all very well, but 9 times out of 10, you're not going to use it in the real world.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that stuff like physical intervention's a bad thing. It's not something you're going to use to remove someone. The first aid bit is the most important thing. But for someone who's just coming into the industry, I'd say the best thing to do is actually be keen and show that you're willing to learn.
Yeah.
And it's like with me, I've been in the game donkey's years, but I'm still learning. You're always going to learn. And I've said this is another thing I said in our podcast before. It doesn't matter if there's someone who's been doing the job a year or someone who's been doing the job 30 years. They might come up with an idea that you think that you haven't thought of and you can use it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always good
Yeah.
to observe, be keen and show that you're willing to do anything.
See, I echo that. I think being a sponge. Now, I'm not the greatest security operator in the world, but I wouldn't say I'm the worst. You know, I'm constantly in work, so that shows I'm doing something right.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think I said this before, I was very lucky, and I was put on that COVID test site, and I was the only, or there was another guy, we were the only 2 cities there, and I was working with people like Mike Brooks, who's diplomatic, CP, trains all the rangers in Africa for the anti-poaching. The late Sean Jennings, God rest his soul, he was a PADP sergeant in the Met. There was Bo. Bo was a firearms officer. Mr. Kelly, who was the chief inspector of Dorset Police Firearms. Who else was there was one guy called Rich. I didn't work with him very long, but I managed to work with him. He was RMPCP. So I got to work with all these people. Then I got another friend of mine he's not well, he does actually have an SIA license, but he's not in the security world. He kind of put me under his shoulder when I was in South Shields called Kenny. He was an ex-guardsman. So I've been lucky enough to work with these people that are stratospherically above me in terms of their skill set.
And I don't think it hurts as well for someone new coming into this game. Ask as many questions. You know, don't just stand there and be worried about asking the HD anything.
I think, I knew that in normal times, I would never stand with these blokes of this calibre ever. Like, so I was just fascinated by their stories, how they worked. And one of the things I'm sort of told I'm good at, and this is why I do a lot of control stuff, like event control, is my communication skills in the radios. But again, that came from these blokes. Well, part of it came from my maritime days, and a lot of it came from these blokes, because I would hear them on the radio, and they were using police stuff, you know, like what the Met Police use and stuff. So I kind of just carbon copied it, you know, and that's where I got my skill set. So if you're coming into this industry, just be a sponge.
Yeah,
you know?
And it doesn't hurt writing stuff down.
No.
Ask the questions and write stuff down.
And then network as well. I'm very fortunate where I can pick up the phone to Bruce, who's done every type of event. I can pick up the phone to Mike Brooks. Me and Mike are now very close friends. I can pick up the phone to so many different people from so many different. From Gary from KSS. Gary's always been good to me. He's ex-GM. He was Lancashire Police. I can pick up the phone to him, who owns a very successful company. And then there are other people that aren't ex-Mil or ex-police, like people like Dean. I can pick up I can pick up the phone to Bruce. I've already mentioned another guy called Jay, who's one of the most renowned dog handlers in the UK. So I'm so fortunate. I've got so many people that I can confide in and get advice from. But that comes from networking and being keen. If I weren't keen, these people wouldn't have any time of day for me.
No.
You know, so I think they're the two.
You know, and I think, you know, I'm not doing it to blow smoke up your arse or anything, but you've proven that you're at the top level of doing events. And what I've seen you do, a lot of people wouldn't be able to do. And, you know, pulling something together at the last minute and getting an event organised, it's a talent. It is.
Yeah.
And you've got that talent and that's your forte.
I mean, we done that job with 3D. But what I will say is, I remember I was on a CP job in Cambridge when that came through. But it wasn't just me. I had a great team. I had a great team around me. I had you as my 2IC, which I was very lucky to have. I had I can't remember the bloke's name. Lloyd, who had a very good team. He ran the search names very well. So it wasn't just me. I was so fortunate to have a great team, and like you say, we pulled it off, and we done a really. I had Mick, who is the deputy SSO at Southampton. He was great to work with, and again, he was someone else I learned stuff from. Again, this was someone that's way more qualified and experienced than I am, and I love working with these people.
Yeah, exactly.
Because and so I remember someone said, I think it might have been Richard Branson or Stephen Bartley or someone, said if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah.
Because I'd rather be the dumbest person in the room with clever people than be the smartest person in the room with dumb people. Because I will learn people are smarter than me.
Well, this is it. And this is where, like I keep saying, about your forte and how you've learned and you've adapted to do like high level events. Like, not just the small events, you can lead big events as well. And
take your time to get there.
Yeah, it has, but it's a talent.
I'll tell you what, I'll tell you the other, coming back to advice, the other thing that I'd say, and sort of back on what you said, is resilience.
Definitely.
Like I said about that job in Saudi Arabia, I wasn't at my finest, and and then again at the start of this year, for various reasons with a certain individual, my confidence was shot to pieces. I came out the industry. I went to the other side. I went and became a bar manager at a bar called South Circus, and great love to them guys. They did nothing wrong, but it just wasn't. It didn't feel right. You know, I was looked after there, and you know, I was treated well, but it just, I don't know, it just wasn't a fit. And then I done a one-off job for someone, or what was meant to be a one-off job, and then it came in. But I managed to get my confidence back, my skill set back, and you've got to be resilient, because in this game, or in any profession, if you want to get to the top, there are going to be dark days. Yeah. There are going to be days when you fuck up. There are going to be days when someone else fucks up. And there's going to be days when you want to just throw the towel in and have enough. But if you can get out of bed the next morning, then crack on.
Yeah, exactly. You know? Yeah, I agree. You know, at the end of the day, you're not one to give up. No. Despite how low you felt, and how bad things have been, you haven't given up, and you've kept going.
Yeah, well, actually, I'll put the link on the comments, but there's a great video by a guy called Rob O'Neill, and he was the guy that basically he killed Bin Laden in that mission, Navy SEAL, and he does this whole speech about, and it's all mostly to do with resilience, and he's talking about a guy that he was in training with, and one of the things they have to do, go into a swimming pool, tie a knot underwater, go back up, get one breath of fresh air, get the next knot and back down again. And I think it was 3 attempts, he said. This guy was on his 3rd attempt and was gonna, basically, if he didn't do this, he will fail and then be kicked out of the Navy SEALs, and you can't reapply.
It's weird because it sounds easy, but it's not.
Yeah. So there was a lot of pressure on this guy. So he goes in, does the 3rd knot, and then he basically drowns. So the instructor goes in, pulls him out, they do all the CPR and stuff like that. Anyway, by a miracle, they bring him back round, and the first thing he said was, did I pass? Right? Did I pass? So the instructor's there, he gets his breath back because he thinks he's going to lose his job for killing one of his blokes, and he goes, yeah, you passed. So they go, oh, thank
And then he died.
No, it's not quite that dark. He goes, thank God, I got the 5th knot. And he goes, well, actually, no, you didn't get the 5th knot. And he goes, I'll tell you what, I'm going to tell you a secret. He goes, we don't care about how many knots you can tie. That's not part of being elite or special forces. I said, what we do is test how far you were going. You killed yourself, so you pushed the goddamn test. But that's what they're alluded to, is about that resilience.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, being able to keep going. And this is why I've got a lot of respect for, you know, these SF guys and stuff like that. And hopefully we can get, you know, Phil Campion on the show at some point. But, you know, because it's that resilience of just keep going and keep going and keep going.
Yeah.
You know, hell breaks loose, pack up your bag and march into the distance.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and if these boys and girls can go out into war zones and do it and defend, you know, my freedoms, then I certainly should be able to do it in Civvy Street in the safe confines. I'm not saying it's easy all the time, but
no.
there are people that are worse off than me.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. You know, on everything you said, it is. And, you know, this life isn't easy.
No.
Not at all. Everyone's got issues, or they've had problems, or they're going through something, and it's trying to adapt about how you're gonna be in the right frame of mind to change things, to make things better, and how you can improve your life. And you know, I've seen you at a low point, and I've seen you at a high point, and it's all to do with thinking to yourself and not giving up. That you've got to change something. You've got to pick yourself up.
Again, you know, that is true. But again, I've been very lucky to have that safety net of a.
And you've had good people around you.
Yeah, I've had fucking good people around me. Really good people like yourself. Yeah, I mentioned on the last one, Christina. You know, she's nothing to do with security, but she's seen me high, low, and everything in between. And within the security industry, I've had really there's a guy called Gary. I mentioned him just now, actually, from owner of KSS. I'll tell you a story about Gary. I hope he sees this. So I'd done a job in 2019. It was one of my first events. It was Leeds Festival. And
I think we're empty.
yeah, top me up. So, so I was working for Gary, but I was through a sub. It was in KSS, right? So I wasn't doing anything particularly Gucci. I was on, actually no, I was on bar one, I think, because that's when I saw the Foo Fighters, and they're really good.
Yeah.
And then I looked after the compound. So for big FR festivals, there's a compound where the traders can buy, your cans of Coke, your bottles of water, and all that type of stuff. So I was looking after that, making sure no one robs it and stuff like that. So I'd done the job, and then left, and then didn't.
Oh, that bit strong.
Oh, whoops.
Bloody hell.
So yeah, well, never mind. Tell you how, chaps. So I'd done this job at Leeds, never thought anything of it. Moved back down south and stuff like that. And what Gary's remit was, and he does a lot of stuff, but on the event is the bars, looking after the bars and stuff like that. So fast forward 2 years, I do a job with Brucey into Specialised at Download, and I'm on this bar called Rocktail Cocktail. Now I know a few of you have seen the TikTok from that, but one of Gary's guys comes up to me and goes, "Oh, I'm working security behind the bar," because we used to go behind the bar and do loss prevention, but I didn't know who this guy was, and he said, "Oh, I'm going to get my boss." So Gary comes up to me and explains what the crack is. And then he turns around to me. Bearing in mind, I worked for this guy once, and I was a third-rate supplier for him as well. And 2 years previous, he looks at me and goes, "Are you Josh Baker?" And I'm sort of a bit dumbfounded at this point. I thought, crap, what have I done? I go, "Yeah." He goes, "You worked for me 2 years ago at Leeds." He remembered my name, remembered where he met me. I was so impressed with that. And
Yes.
and we've kept in contact, and we speak, once a month, and we cross paths, and bless him, he put me through my level 5 recently, and we went out and we chewed the fat, and he's a really, really good guy. But again, that is, I suppose, really good people management.
Yeah, it is. It is, and to be remembered, it does take you back a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, it is nice when, and sometimes I do go to events, and it might be the first particular event for that company or that event, and there'll be people that come up to me, like, "Oh, I remember you from such and such event, or I remember you from here," and it is quite a nice feeling.
It is, and even though I think that what I've noticed with the festival is that even though a lot of them, they're all over the country, the network comes together.
Yeah.
And you do come across the same people all the time.
Yeah.
That's
definitely.
not a bad thing, that's a good thing.
No.
But you get to know who everyone is.
Yeah. It's nice to work with people. And there's people I don't speak to maybe once a year and stuff like that, but we always have a good catch up. And this is why I've got a lot of time for Specialised. Now I know John Thompson's just followed our podcast. He probably doesn't know who I am, because don't get me wrong, I haven't done that many festivals with Specialised. I'm not one of their inner regulars, but the reason why I've got a lot of time for them and I always stick up for them is because a lot of my event, or 90% of my event stuff, I've learned from them. I've learned from their Spike, I've learned from Paul Goff, learned from Bruce, so they've let me work their festivals, and I would say they're probably one of the best companies at running festivals from a security point of view. There are other great ones as well, like KSS from Gary as well. He's up there, but for big, ones, I would say they are up there, and I've learned a lot from them. So that's why I'm very, very complimentary of them. And I tell people, when people are freshly badged and they ask for advice, find out what they want to do. Because some people want to do doors, some people want to do events, some people want to do static. So when people say, "Who should I work for?" Well, first of all, I'll try and find out what they want to do, because there's different companies that are good at different things. And if people say they want to do events, I generally either send them to Bruce or Specialised because it's a good foundation.
Yeah, it is.
You know, you're not going to learn more from anyone else than I'd say Specialised, and then you can sort of go into other areas.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I've always said that you've got to learn to walk before you can run.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is going back to when, like, someone who's just coming into the industry, like we were talking about earlier, is that you've got to learn to walk before you can run.
Yeah, exactly.
And you will get there.
Yeah.
It's going to take a bit of time, but you will get there and you will succeed
Yeah.
and achieve what you want to.
Yeah. And also, the industry can also be very bitter, and there's a lot of backstabbing and stuff like that. I'm not going to go into it because I don't want to be negative. So when that will happen, if you've got a bit of character, or a bit of personality, it will happen to you at some point. And when it does, you just got to drown it out.
Yeah.
You know, you just got to drown it out and focus on the positives. It's not always that easy, but that's what you've got to do, and you will thrive.
Yeah. Yeah, you do.
You know? And people will make up rumours about you, people will do this, do that, because it comes down to jealousy. But pick yourself up, and the way I get through it is I know there's more people that support me than don't. It's just the negative is always the loudest noise. But that doesn't mean it's the right noise.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I know where you're coming from.
No, it's like the video we did the other day. There was a couple of sarky comments saying that's all we do, or we're plastic coppers. Well, it's not all we do. We do lots of different things. But they're just people that don't like the fact we are putting ourselves out there.
This is it. You know, the job that we end up doing, our day job,
Yeah.
and that you've come to help me with, is that you're dealing with everything.
I mean, on my first day here, so basically
Well, you didn't think it was as bad.
No, well, Johnny, yeah.
Basically.
Johnny would tell me all these stories about Bognor, and I've worked in Rotherham this year. I thought, it can't be that bad. I got here, it's worse than Rotherham. But the first day I was here, so I'm here for a month because they've, I think we've spoken to this, they should have 2 on all the time, but they've doubled it up for the Christmas period. The first day, within I think it was even in the morning.
It was the first.
The first thing that we had a radio net. We split up because we're dealing with 2 different things, and then all we heard was emergency at Morrison's. We went running over, and we were second on scene to a suicide. Yeah, and people go, oh, we don't do a lot, or we don't do nothing because business wardens or community wardens. Well, people don't see that side of things. We had to. Yeah, because obviously the police did get called, but at that time the police weren't there, and we still, even though we're nowhere near police officers, but we still have to follow the PACE Act. So we had to cordon off the crime scene, make sure the victim had actually passed away, because if they hadn't, obviously then we've got to do CPR, try and bring them back basically, but it was a clear cut, unfortunately, DOA.
And
so there's more to this job than
is.
people.
And it annoys me where you get the keyboard warriors who start slating us when they don't know. I'd like them to come and actually take
Do a day in the
to come
life,
and do a day
Yeah.
and see what it's actually like. Because it's not just shoplifting. I have to put a lot of stuff to the back of my mind that
Yeah.
I've seen over the years.
Yeah. Well, it's like I can't.
And it's nasty stuff.
I can't go into too much details because again, it's being dealt with by hopefully the right authorities. But we dealt with a female. All right, she was a shoplifter. Which is what flagged it up. But there was more to it than just a shoplifter, and it looks like it's a case of trafficking. And that's something that we had to deal with, and obviously that's then because we do work closely with the police, Sussex Police, who I must admit, the police officers and the PCSOs that I've met and worked with on this job,
They're all brilliant.
They've been fantastic.
Yeah, they are.
And it does really wind me up when they get slated, because we've kind of had a sneak peek of what they have to do as well. And and people think it's just as simple as someone commits a crime and they get locked up. Unfortunately the police have to go through.
But they've got to go through the channels. It's not this is what annoys me. it's not the police, it's the CPS. It's the Criminal Prosecution Service.
Preach. And this is
They make the final decisions, not the police officer who's investigating.
And the CPS, it's not just charge or release, which obviously the CPS do. It's everything else. What they get charged with. That's the CPS. So, if there are any police officers out there that get this wrong, please correct me. But my understanding is the police will recommend a charge to the CPS. The CPS will then say charge or release.
Yeah.
They will then say we can't charge them with this, charge them with that instead. It's there, and then once that's done, it's the CPS that prosecutes that individual. They build the evidence pack. They are the ones that go to court.
You have got it down to a T. What you just said. That is exactly what actually happens. It is. I've spoken to a lot of police officers over the years where they're so desperate about getting someone prosecuted, and the CPS has thrown stuff out for insufficient evidence. And the police officers are more frustrated than anything about this.
Because they're trying to do a job. 99% of them are good people. They're doing the job for the right reasons. They're trying to keep the streets safe. And they're fighting a losing battle. Then they get attacked by the media. Then they get attacked by, like you say, the keyboard warriors. Then the members of the public. Then the certain politicians. So they can't win.
To be honest, the politicians aren't squeaky clean either,
No, exactly.
so it don't make any difference.
And I put a thing on my personal Facebook, which is open, and there's a stat: and more police officers are killed by suicide than in the line of duty.
You think about all the police officers that have ended up being killed in the line of duty. Like all these terrorist attacks that have happened in London, like going back to the incident years ago with Rail Moat, and things like that. Yes, there are coppers who have committed offences.
But you give me an organisation, even the NHS, that employs over 100,000 people, and every single person's squeaky clean.
The thing is about it, I'm not being funny, there's always going to be something that's going to pop up. It doesn't matter what it is.
My argument for it is remove the police for 24 hours and see what happens.
What are they going to do? Put G4S in?
Oh God! No, it's just, I'm not saying it'll happen, but it's just a thought experiment to all the people that want to get rid of the police or think the police are this and that. Remove the police. If you think about what would happen if the police are removed for 24 hours, it'll be carnage.
It will, because people will just think that they can do exactly whatever they want. You'll have all the looting. You'll have everything going on.
Police get abused until you need one. It's simple as that.
There are some things that have flagged up in the national news about some police constabularies where some officers have abused their position. But those individuals have been dealt with.
You get
consequences have been made. But it's the same in our job. You're right. There's door staff that have abused their positions, but they have to get dealt with in the same manner as anyone else.
Exactly.
They do, and it doesn't mean that the whole force is corrupt or the whole industry is corrupt.
The thing is, like I said, with the police officers I worked with, they've got a very dark humour, and if some of the jokes, and I was fortunate enough to be included in their banter and stuff like that. Some of the jokes they were telling and some of the things they're saying to each other, that got out. Fuck me. But they don't mean anything by it,
I think a lot of it is...
It's a coping mechanism.
It is a coping mechanism. Blimey.
Coping mechanism.
That's what I'm getting like you now. I can't get my words out.
You think
it is a coping.
Some of the stuff they see and deal with on the daily, is horrendous. They see the worst in people. They see the very worst people, and the worst in the worst.
They do, and they also come across the worst circumstances. And anything.
And you can't take that home with you because you will implode, and some police officers, unfortunately, do implode. And so you have to have some form of coping mechanism.
But it's the same with any job. It's like the ambulance service.
Yeah.
It's like the fire brigade. It's
I've
like,
got a lot of
you
respect
know,
for them as
It's
well,
like the
yeah.
armed forces. They've all experienced
Yeah.
and they've seen things that they try to put to the back of their mind, but a lot of it is a coping thing.
I've got a very close friend of mine. I met her through Christina, and she was, in fact, well, I think very soon she's going to be fully fledged paramedic, but she's a training paramed, and she's only 19, 20. Some of the stories that she's told me, 56-year-old blokes wouldn't have even gone through.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a knife to her, to her, and also, and I think to get out of bed and do that job day in, day out is incredible, and I have a lot of respect for her and people within that job.
Well,
And one of the things that
it's
winds
not
me
easy
up, one of
at
the
all.
things that winds me up is people that hurt. I'm not justifying it by any way of means, so I still think it's disgusting, but people that sort of fight or hurt police officers or security, to a slight degree, I kind of see it, the anti-establishment, but people that hurt or abuse medical staff, that really, and this is one of the reasons why I quit. I did a job at ED, and I didn't do a great job. I'm not going to lie. I wasn't in a great frame of mind, and I'm not going to go into details. But the nurses that work there are incredible. And the one thing that used to frustrate me is how little power I had of removing you. How much abuse they just put up with. And how little security could do. And it wasn't their fault. It was just, it's above them of what kind of can't be done. And they're the way they treat people and the way they treat everyone equally in terms of the medical care they give is phenomenal.
Yeah, it is. Emergency services workers being attacked has shot up. This is why they ended up like first responders, paramedics.
Yeah.
They had a police officer in the car.
Yeah.
They introduced that.
Yeah.
So you've got a police officer and a paramedic
Yeah.
working together.
Yeah.
It's like in London, the paramedics wear stack vests.
That's disgusting.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely disgusting.
They were talking about having security with the ambulance as it goes out on emergency calls because of the abuse and the threats that they get.
The paramedics and technicians' only job is to save your life.
Yeah.
They're not there to arrest you. They're not there to harm you. They are literally there to save. They're underpaid. They're under-resourced. They're out there. Actually, I'm going to tell the story. I don't care. When I was working at a very well-known sandwich shop, so I was the manager there.
You put too much lettuce.
Oh my god! I was the manager there. Thought I'd try something new, and they had this woman there, and I wanted to sack her. They wouldn't let me. That's why I left. But two or three paramedics walk in, NHS paramedics, and they ordered. I can't remember what they ordered now. It was like a nacho something or other because it was in a box. Anyway, I filled it to them. Like anyone that works in a fast food restaurant, this was the well-known sandwich shop that's green. Down the way.
It starts with S.
So down the way, S down the way. So anyone that works in any type of fast food restaurants know there's certain portion sizes. Anyway, paramedics come in and I fill it to the brim, right? As much as I can because they're doing a hard job.
Yeah, they're on a 12-hour
12-hour shift that could turn into a 14, 15-hour shift depending on what calls they get. So I fill it to the brim, and they used to do blue light discount, which I think it was only 10 or 15%.
Yeah.
It wasn't a great deal.
It's not worth its while.
Yeah. So I'd done it, and this woman was watching me. That's the incorrect portion size. I was like, it's fine. So I was doing the artist's job. She was on the till. Right. So she put it through. I said, "Oh, don't forget to put the blue light discount." In front of the paramedics, they've already got an extra portion. Why should I do a blue light discount? In front of them, I said, "You put that discount through." I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, what? And then you know, basically she's on a basic wage. The only person that got a bonus was me on stock retention. So the only person losing out really was myself.
Oh yeah, exactly.
You know.
She's still going to get paid
She's gonna get paid.
regardless.
Yeah, her wages don't go up or down. And she got really, and I was so embarrassed for the paramedics as well. Yeah, because they didn't ask for it. They didn't come in and ask for a discount. They didn't ask for a bigger
No.
portion. You know, I'm just thinking, well, you know, if my one of my friends or family one day, God forbid, needed emergency medical assistance, I would like to think that they're getting tough. You know, and then they left, and she went on this massive rant about why should emergency services workers get preferential treatment. And I was thinking, they don't do it for the money. You know, they're underpaid, under-resourced. They do it because they care about it. You know, so if I can give an extra bloody chicken goujon in their salad, you know what, it's not...
But you're out of order.
I remember when you came in once and she
Yeah.
was staring at me because I made you a bigger fucking sandwich or something.
Oh.
You even said I was her problem.
Yeah, I know. You're just standing there like
Colonel Gaddafi.
like a Gestapo, like watching what everything you're putting in the thing.
So I remember once
Probably listing it as well.
I made some cookies. I made them wrong or something. They were edible. You know, they were fine. We couldn't sell them. Or I made too many, I think, actually. I think I made too many.
I was going to say, I don't know how you can make them wrong.
Yeah, no.
That's
Oh,
self-explanatory.
you literally, they come in the freezer, you put them in like a baking tray, put them in the oven and push the button, they're simple. But I made too many, so they're going to go in the bin, right? And I was brand new, so I didn't really know what the rules were. So my ex at the time, my mum used to give stuff to the food bank. So I thought, well, and then it was on a Thursday we used to go to an auction, so she used to pick us up because we were on the way through. So I thought, well, instead of throwing them away, I'll give them to the food bank. You know, why shouldn't I? You know, because there are people struggling out there. So I boxed them up and stuff like that. I can't remember how, but she found out about it, and she grasped me up to the area manager. Oh, Josh is giving food away to the food bank. Well, it's better than, surely in my eyes, it's better than going in the bin. I just thought, what is wrong? There are some miserable people out there, isn't there?
Yeah, well, I totally agree. I know there's rules in for a reason, but I think if you're like sticking by the rules 100%, then I think it's a bit.
Sometimes, I'm not an anarchist. You know, I'm not an anti-establishment or anything like that. But sometimes, like the sort of form of security, every scenario is different. You know, there's some scenarios that are different. You've got to treat every scenario with a different purpose and differently.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just crazy.
Oh dear. So,
Dear me.
I still couldn't believe it. That doorbell was on fucking Jeremy Kyle. I did. One day on Mondays are our busiest days, right? We're meant to do all these. Sorry, Gary. We're meant to do all these flight plans and bits and bobs, and this one told me, was on Jeremy Kyle, right? I was like, no. So instead of doing my work all afternoon, I'm on YouTube trying to find this video. I was like, he's not on Jeremy. And eventually I found it.
Yeah, you know.
I couldn't believe it.
Oh, I was in a coma for 2 months whilst my missus was having an affair with 100 different blokes.
I mean, it is awful, but having this doorman on bloody Jeremy Kyle. And then this was before my time, to be fair. I was told about it. I think I told you where some woman was on the door. And I actually felt sorry for her because I do believe people should have second chances. It's not like she committed a criminal offence or anything, but she used to be in pornos.
Who are we talking about here?
She used to work at. I'm not going to mention the venue, so I don't want to embarrass them. You know the one opposite the Hilton in Bournemouth, or down the hill from the Hilton. It's an M&B venue.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She used to work there on the door, and basically the staff somehow, well, you know how these things happen. The staff found out she was in a porno, and then the company went, "Oh, we don't want her on the door." That's a bit hard, to be fair. It's bringing the venue into disrepute.
What, is it carrying on in there as well?
Well, if it was like that.
I was going to say, yeah. I was going to say you've missed out big time.
So what's one of your favourite venues that you've worked?
Favourite venues? Christ. I've got so many, like I say.
You've got to pick one. One venue and one event. Actually, I want to do 2 events. I'll let you have one venue and 2 events.
Event?
Yeah. So you can have 2 events and 1 venue, or 2 venues and 1 event. It's up to you.
Oh, bloody hell. Do you know what? It's so hard to think, like I said, towards the beginning of this podcast. Just the South Coast alone, I've done from Hastings right down to Weymouth. And trying to pinpoint something is so bloody hard that I think I need the weather map on now to try and have a look. But you know, I think venues that stand out to be some of the best I've worked at are Revolutions.
Yeah.
A lot of Stonegate venues.
Yeah.
And some M&B.
Yeah. So for me, I've got to say, although I mentioned earlier, Southern Lettuce, Richmond Hill.
Yeah, I think with me it's hard to actually say one specific venue.
Well, you've got a lot more experience under your belt, so it's probably a bit harder. But well, the reason why, there's a couple of reasons for the Stoke. It was the first venue I was made a head door. Joe, who was a great mentor, another great mentor, I forgot to mention earlier. Another exactly. RMP, actually, funny enough. She was a great mentor. I think she was a great mentor for you as well, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was, and you know,
phenomenal leader, strong personality. Like if you've done something wrong, you'd fucking know about it.
Yeah.
But again, on the flip side, if you've done something right, you'd also know about it.
Well, yeah, and this is the thing. It's like when I got asked to, Regency ended up getting the contract for Revolutions. So I got asked whether I could go in and like get it all up and running.
Yeah.
In Brighton.
Yeah.
So I've done that, you know, with a mate of mine who I've worked with for donkey's years on the door. And we went in, got it all up and running, got it to establish to where it should be. And this is where I got like all my recommendations and that of Sussex Police,
yeah.
for duty of care and everything, because we run a safe venue.
We knew, I don't know if you guys watched it, but remember when we were talking to Steve, I mentioned pinch points.
Yeah.
And how they happen in life. Well, I'll say Joe was a big pinch point for me.
Yeah.
Because she was sort of the first person, really, within security, to tap me up. I've always been ambitious, but I was a team leader on COVID, but obviously I knew that was temporary. But she was the first person really outside of that environment to tap me up as a sort of operational team leader. So she's the one to blame for the people who don't like me. But she tapped me up for that role. So if it weren't for her, I don't really know where I'll be now.
No.
You know, whether I'll still be in the industry or whether I'll just be, you know, not there's anything wrong with it, just an average doorman bouncing around venues. So I've got a lot of time for her.
No, I know where you're coming from, definite, and you know I have, and I think, you know, I always have, but I've worked with a lot of other area managers, operations managers who I've worked with through different companies.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, Dean Hayden, for instance, is a man who I've learned a lot of.
Yeah.
Over the years. I've worked with him with different companies and everything, and I work with him now.
I'll tell you what,
you know, he's got a lot of experience. He's very, very good at his job.
Well, and I'll tell you the reason why. I don't think Dean will mind telling the story. The reason why I've got so much respect for Dean, and this isn't one of my finest moments, and I must admit it, is I left Regency. I met Dean at Regency. I left Regency. It was Dean that kind of, you know, delivered the news, whatever. And unfortunately, I took it personally. You know, and I said, and I regret it, but I can't take it back. I said some very nasty things about him, and I just, maybe it was immaturity, lack of experience, whatever. But you know, I've got to own it. It was me. And fast forward a couple of years, I start doing bits for Pat, and Dean creates his own company, and we are using Dean's company to supply. So I'm dealing with Harry, who's Dean's operations manager at the time. So I thought, you know what? At some point I'm going to have to cross paths with Dean. So I sent him a text and said, "That's like lettuce." I said, "Let's meet up for some food or I said, let's meet up and we can discuss things, you know." And he says, within 30 seconds, not longer, I see the typing, right? He says, "That would be lovely, Josh, let's go for some food." So generally when I meet people in Bournemouth, it's normally the slug of lettuce is my go-to. So we go for some food. The first thing he does is give me a big hug. Sit down, I apologise because I had a lot of apologising to do. He apologised, and you know, I worked for him. And then the next day, he had to, unfortunately, well, actually they quit, but he was needing to get rid of someone, which he didn't want to do because Dean's not that type of person. But he needed someone to sit in the meeting and just as a witness. So the next day, bearing in mind we haven't spoken for 2 years, he texted me saying, "Would you sit in this meeting with me?" I said, "Absolutely no problem." And then I became area manager for his company. Unfortunately, some of you know about it. I had some mental health issues, all over and done with now. So that's why I stepped away from the operations side of Dean's company. Nothing that Dean done, it was my choice. And now I do ad hoc work for him on the doors. But what my point is, a lot of people wouldn't have given me that chance. I didn't deserve a mistake. If I make a mistake, I like to think I own that mistake.
Yeah.
Right, and I did with Dean, and I said something I shouldn't have done, and he never. And it's a shame that certain other individuals that we can all work out who don't take a leaf out of his book, because that individual I didn't do anything bad to, really. Dean, arguably I did, but Dean, if I pick up the phone now, or I send Dean a WhatsApp message saying I need help, he would be on the phone, unless he's asleep, he'd be on the phone within 20 seconds.
Yeah, but this is what I mean, you know.
Despite what I put him through.
Yeah, and this is where people like Dean unique within the industry, and you know, I'll do anything for him.
Yeah.
I will. He's a friend out of work, in work. You know, but I've also.
And the other person as well is, and again, when I left Regency, I wasn't very complimentary of them, and you know, I do think, looking back at it, I do think I've done a good job. I don't think things were being fed back correctly. I think there were certain individuals within the company that were, I know the likes of Ryan had my back and stuff like that, but I think there were certain individuals at operational level that kind of were buffering things. But anyway, Gary Powers, again, a couple of years. I was very drunk one night. And I decided to WhatsApp Gary Powers about 3 in the morning, right? And I woke up, I thought, oh no, so I deleted the message. But then I got a lovely message from Gary saying, "I read your message, it was lovely to hear from you, I hope you're well." And every now and then I get a message of Gary saying, "You're doing really well, love to see it," and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
but this is it.
There are good people in the industry. No one's perfect.
No, and Gary's another man who I've got a lot of respect for, and he's got a lot of experience.
And this is what hindsight gives you, doesn't it?
Very clever.
He is very, yeah. This is what hindsight gives you. Gary is very demanding, admittedly, but he wants standards. And again, this is where I think, again, I know they're not liked in some circles, but Sandbanks, or a new company that we've done work for, And this is where CJ's really good. His standards
Yeah,
are
he is.
ridiculous. Well, they're not ridiculous high, they're just high standards. And this is what sets it apart
Yeah.
from the rest. And if he can hit the ground running with them standards, you then got that base point to...
Yeah, like I say, I've got a lot of respect for him as well, and he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
And even his staff who work with him are nice.
Yeah, the thing is with CJ, again, he's going to come on the podcast as well, but he will tell you himself, he's had a checkered past, he's got a reputation, which I think is also a bit of an unfair reputation. I think a lot of stuff is exaggerated and stuff like that, and people that don't know him have heard stories, and the same with me. People that don't know me have heard stories, and then Chinese whispers exaggerates, and I think CJ is the same. But if you actually sit down and have a conversation with him, he's very clever, and he's trying to disrupt the industry. But if you look at multi-billion-dollar companies, successful companies, they haven't just gone along with the norm. So my example, like Uber.
Yeah.
Like Uber came along, and they did one simple thing that taxi companies didn't do, or two simple things. You know how much you're paying up front.
Yeah.
And you can see when your taxi's coming.
Yeah.
Right? Two simple things. It regenerated the industry now to where, we say, oh, get an Uber or whatever. And now even pretty much every taxi company has apps and stuff like that, but they're not caught up. So every now and then there are companies that will come in and just change the whole industry. And 9 times out of 10, it's people that haven't worked in that industry that do it.
Yeah. I agree with you.
People that haven't worked in said industry, they've come in with an idea, been told it won't work 1,000 times, do it anyway, and bang, it works. And it's that fresh approach.
Like I say, I think this is where going right back during this podcast this evening. It's when I said about someone who hasn't been in the job that long coming up with an idea.
Yeah.
And taking that idea on board and adapting that idea to make it work.
Yeah.
And this is where, with anything, like whether it's like Uber you're talking about, someone's actually thought of an idea, and it's now like a success, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's working.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, we had that idea when we go talk about Eastleigh. We had McDonald's and we had the station, and they never conflicted. So, because McDonald's was only X amount of hours and the station was only X amount of hours, it was quite hard to fill. Yeah. So what we decided to do was instead of
combine it into a full-time job.
Yeah. So instead of advertising it as the station as McDonald's, he said full-time job because it was 34 hours, I think, in total.
It was, and then how it was is that McDonald's was 4 in the afternoon till 9 o'clock in the evening. And that was 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So what I ended up doing was combining on a Friday and Saturday the station with McDonald's. So the door staff used to do 4 till
3, wasn't it?
Well, altogether it was 4 till 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
No, 3:30.
Yeah.
Time
So
they
they're
kicked
doing
out.
three nights a week,
Yeah.
12-hour shifts. So they'll do full-time hours and have 4 days
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they wanted to top up and do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday at McDonald's, they could have done, because they were doing 4 till 9 o'clock at night.
So they could, and the thing is, anyone that works in the door well knows Monday to Thursday are easy to fit.
Yeah.
So, but obviously, first refusal will go to the weekend guys, and then if they don't want to do it, then that's when we go to. So I remember having an argument. Actually, he is a really good doorman. I'm not going to lie, but I had this argument with this guy who wanted to, and I think you had the same problem. That wanted to. He worked for another company in Bournemouth. Nothing wrong with that company. Really good company. I've got a lot of time and respect for the owner, but he worked for them full time now for employees, which is no problem. And he wanted to do Toast Tuesday because a lot of his mates worked it. It was a 10-man team. So if I had the slot, no problem. But again, Tuesdays were easy to fill. And I had to drop him because I filled it with all my own weekend stuff.
Yeah.
And he got really funny down the phone. I said, how would you like it because he did a Monday night for his company. I said, how would you like it if you were dropped on a Monday for someone that works for a different company at weekend?
Yeah.
And that's where you've got to prioritise your weekend staff to give them the week out.
Well, this is it. The ones who are doing the Fridays and Saturdays will get the extra hours during
Especially
the week.
Saturdays, yeah.
You know, the ones who end up just doing a Tuesday night for you because it's Toast Tuesday won't get priority.
No.
And this is how it goes.
No.
It doesn't matter if they're the best doorman in the world.
Yeah.
You always give the extra shifts to the ones that are loyal and will end up, who turn up all the time without fail,
Yeah, yeah.
don't let you down,
Yeah.
and do the weekends.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly that, because they're the ones that, and I always used to, if I didn't have the hours, but I knew a company that did, I always used to say, oh, Shosec have got this on this day, or you go, or I got on with the guys from Bar Republic and Camel, and say, oh, you can work, they're looking for staff, because I knew that if I gave them work, or put them in the right direction of work, they would then come back to me when I needed them.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, because at the end of the day, we've all got to put bread on our table. You know,
Yeah.
and I've never, you know, even when I was at Regency, as long as they committed to the shifts they were doing, you know, if they worked on a Monday elsewhere, I couldn't give a hoot. There's lots of companies out there, or one particular one, that would get funny with staff if they worked for another company during their downtime.
Yeah, but the thing is about it, you haven't signed a contract to say that you can't work for other companies. So,
No.
you
And
know,
like I
I'm
said,
not being funny, you can do
We've
whatever.
all got bills to pay,
Yeah.
we've all got bread to put on the table, and we all want a bit of luxury in life as well.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to do what you can, and you know, like I do this during the day, like my day job, but I have to work the doors to top up my wages.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't mean that I want to have to do two
Yeah.
jobs, but I've got no choice in doing two jobs.
Yeah.
And I've always been like that. I've always had two
Yeah.
jobs running because
Yeah,
you never
yeah.
know when one might backfire.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got one to fall back on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, I've always done it.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, no, definitely that. Well, I think we'll wrap it up now.
I think we'll wrap it up before everyone
Right.
gets bored.
Yeah. If you have watched the whole 1 hour and 41 minutes, I will be impressed. But
I think I will be impressed if someone's watched it all.
but we're going to do one more toast.
I think what we've got to do is, in a minute, wish everyone a Merry Christmas.
I mean, I am aware of some of the feedback of lightings and sound and stuff like that.
But
Like
we
I
are
said,
looking to improve
we are looking.
that
Like
in
I
the
said,
new year.
none of this is scripted. This is all ad-lib. Off the, you know. So in the new year, we are going to look at increasing our, you know, microphones and getting proper
Yeah.
kit. We just wanted the test run, so
And we've got guests coming in.
yeah,
new
we've got
year,
guests
so,
and there's some in the pipeline and really interesting people.
Yeah.
But you know, for the ones that have watched and supported us, you know, I'm shocked at some of the amount of views we've actually got over.
Well,
it's mind blowing, really.
It's unbelievable, like you say, for something that we haven't scripted.
Yeah.
It's just like tonight, for instance.
You know,
It's just something that we've just come out
yeah.
with. We
Well,
just started
obviously,
having a conversation
you know,
about
Brucey
it.
couldn't make it, which you know is fair enough. But again, he's in the new year, and we discussed whether we were going to do one or not. And we thought, you know,
we
why
thought,
not?
sod it, we might as well.
But we would like to prepare a toast for anyone that's working over this Christmas in the
Yeah,
emergency
yeah.
services, police, ambulance, fire service, lifeboats, RNLI, Coast Guard, mountain rescue, whatever, and also the security
as well.
and the armed forces, you know, that aren't with their families this Christmas. So all the emergency services and armed forces, here's to you.
Merry Christmas.